Edition of this day in the African American baseball history, this day in Black baseball history, or whatever you want to call it. And today is the December 17th, 2025 edition of this day in Black baseball history. I'm going to give you some historic facts, and if you like these facts, maybe you'll even enjoy the commentary that comes after the fact even better. So these are historic facts that happened through the ages on December the 17th. So I'm going to jump right in because I've been known to try to go past my 20 minutes, which is my allotted time. And here lately, I've been having this scratchy throat and the weather's changing and everything. So it always hits me real hard. So, anyway, guys, I do want to go through this. And so I want to thank everybody for joining. And if you, once again, if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. All right. And okay, so here we go. You ready? Let's take a trip down memory lane. December the 17th, 1905. Man, we're going way back, over 100 years ago. Theodore Ted Trent is born in Jacksonville, Florida on this day. Okay, and he is a pitcher. And after leaving Bethune-Cookman College in 1926, he went straight to the St. Louis Stars and led those guys to about 3 consecutive pennants and I think one world championship. That was Theodore Ted Trent. He had one of the greatest curveballs in baseball. And he also later pitched for a couple of teams that I think were really good. One of them is the 1933-32 Chicago American Giants. They were an outstanding team. He's on that team as well. And how about this? In 1934, the Kansas City Monarchs picked Trent up to pitch a few games for them when they were facing Dizzy and Daffy Dean. I wrote about that in my book, The Dizzy and Daffy Dean Barnstorming Tour, Race, Media, and America's National Pastime. So I talk about Ted Trent in there and give you a little bit more about who this guy was. And so that was Ted Trent. Now, Ted Trent, he died at an early age. He was known to kind of struggle with alcoholic beverages. And so he ended up passing away in, let's see, he was like 40, 41 years old, right in there. And he is buried in Borough Cemetery in Chicago, where he had made his home. Uh, and, you know, like I said, he pitched for the Chicago American Giants. I learned a lot about Ted Trent from listening to Subby Bias, who played with him when he was with the Chicago American Giants. Subby Bias was a great interview. And I used to go and talk to Subby. He lived on Chicago's South Side and sit on his porch, and we had lots of great conversations. And I was fortunate enough to also feature Ted Trent and Subby Bias in my 1987 baseball card set, Dixon's Negro League Greats. All right. So that's a little bit on Ted Trent, born on this day. Hey, by the way, if you're joining me, and it would be good if you just put the city that you're joining me from. I always like to know where you're from, and hey, maybe I've been to your city. I might be able to tell you a fascinating fact, or maybe a player or two that you might need to search out in your own city. All right. So I see lots of people saying hello and everything, and so okay. So I'm still waiting for some cities, and I will keep on rolling. Okay. All right. Let's go to December 17th, 1944. James A. Stewart, not the actor. This is an African American guy, age 37, a former member of Maryland's Piedmont Colored Giants, died in a German counter-offensive in Belgium. He died for a country, just imagine this, he died for a country that refused to let him enjoy the peaceful pursuits of American and National League Baseball. But he put his life on the line and ended up passing away in World War II in Belgium. All right. This is a guy, he never played in the Negro National League, but believe me, there were good black ball players all over the country. Many of them never played in the Negro National League, and they were hometown favorites, stars. Wherever you go, you will always find some people that played baseball to a very high degree, were very renowned. I know in Kansas City, a couple of names that pop up all the time when I was a kid was Mac Massengill. Mike Massengill was, he was like a local legend. Fred Langford was another one. Donna Faye Collins, Gene Collins' father. And there were many more that were just around town that never left. And part of the reason why some of these guys never left because they had jobs and they had families. So if you went out and you played baseball once the season was over, you had to go back to work, right? And maybe you don't get hired again. So maybe if you're working for the railroad or around here in Kansas, sometimes people work for the grain elevator factories here, and so hey, they didn't want to leave that job and then come home in the winter and can't support your family, right? So that's why hey, another thing. That's why many baseball players didn't have very large families. Most of them had one or two children. I think, boy, I could go down that road. That would take me way out. But one of these days, I would do a broadcast on that because there are a number of ball players like Buck O'Neill, never had a child. Papa Bell never had a child. So there are many more that did not have families that included children, but yet they were married over 50 years. All right? Okay, so let's keep it going. Let's see. I don't know if anybody is coming here. No one's telling me where they from. Nobody's telling me at all. Let's see. So somebody says they have a question. Okay, well, go ahead and shoot your question, and I will keep rolling along with these examples. All right. So let's go to December 17th, 1933. Okay, Satchel Paige of the Los Angeles Royal Giants struck out 12 batters in a 3-2 win over Buck Newsom to spoil the pitcher's big celebration at the Los Angeles White Sox Park on Buck Newsom Day in Winter League action. Now, you probably heard of Buck Newsom, but hey, a lot of people have heard of Satchel Paige. But did you know Buck Newsom was in the American National League? Oh, this guy played for a lot of teams before Satchel Paige could ever get a chance. In 1933, Newsom's already there, and Paige doesn't get there until he's like 40-something years old, 46-year-old rookie. How about that? So anyway, but these guys were held back because of their talent and because of racism in America. And so I fight against that all the time. I'm going to tell these guys stories until I just can't tell them anymore. Okay, so let's see. Somebody, and you know, one thing about it, guys, we get a lot of nonsense online. I think some people don't have anything else to do. They don't have time to learn anything new, so they try to go out and poison the water for everybody who is trying to learn something good. So, hey, I just ignore them, we'll delete them, and keep on rolling. How about that? All right, so here's something interesting about that particular game. They had a field day event, all right? And in the field day event, they had Papa Bell run around the bases to see if he could break the world's record. So let's examine this world record, okay? So Papa Bell circled the bases, and that's home to home in 13.35 seconds. And that was reportedly faster than Maurice, let's see, what's his name? Arcadican, and that was a guy who played in the major leagues, 1921 record of circling the bases at 13.4 seconds. Okay, now in 1932, a guy named Ernest Swanson, now he appears on 1933 Galley baseball card sets, and reportedly with the Cincinnati Reds at that time, he ran around the bases at 13.3, and then I saw another one said 13.25 seconds, and that was on September 15th, 1929. So these were some of your speed demons, and it's really interesting when I look at this. Now, when Swanson ran, he was clocked by AAU timers. Now, I'm not sure who clocked James Papa Bell when he was running, all right? So, and on another occasion, they said that Swanson had ran around the bases in 13.2 seconds. So I've seen three different totals. Not sure which one should I go with. But we know that he was fast, right? But we also know James Papa Bell was fast as well. All right. Now here's an interesting thing. Eddie Dwight, who played for the Kansas City Monarchs, was known as a speed demon himself, and he beat a guy by the name of Roland Locke. Now, the reason I know that because when I interviewed Eddie Dwight's wife, she repeatedly told me about the time he raced Roland Locke and beat him. Now, Roland Locke was a a well-known sprinter who, guess what, who also participated in running around the bases, and he had circled the bases at 13.4 seconds. So all of these guys are 13.2, 13.35, 13.4 seconds. And guess what? Eddie Dwight beat him running. So it's a good chance Eddie Dwight was just as good, just as fast as James Papa Bell. Yeah. So how about that? These are the Speed Demons records. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to know. I know nowadays, if a guy hits an inside the park home run, they actually clock him. But most of these guys on the inside the park home runs that they're clocking today, they're circling the bases about 14 something seconds. So these guys were 13 something seconds, but they were not in the game of play. These were exhibitions where they would run, and that way they could time them. But now they've got technology where they can, if you hit an inside the park home run, they can time you right now. So anyway, that happened. All of that happened December the 17th, 1933. Somebody says that's so fast. The current record of 13.3 seconds, and Papa Bell was so long ago. Very interesting. Yes. Papa Bell, I remember talking to him, and he used to tell me that he wanted to race Jesse Owens. And Jesse Owens would always tell him, I'm not going to, I don't have my track shoes. And Papa said, well, put on a pair of baseball shoes. And Jesse Owens said, I'm not racing you in no heavy baseball shoes. So they never actually raced, but they talked about it many times. And that was what reportedly Papa Bell told me. Now, Satchel Paige also used to say that if the colleges had known about Papa Bell and they had put him racing against Jesse Owens, Jesse Owens would have looked like he was walking compared to Papa Bell. Now, I don't know about all that, but these guys had speed, all right? So that's just a little history on that. And let's see. Okay, if you're joining me, let me know where you're from, all right? Okay, so I got one more before we get out of here tonight. So a little short broadcast. I'm going to get out of here right about maybe 15, 16 minutes tonight. So December 17th, 1981. Henry Hank Bayless died in Kansas City, Missouri. Bayless was a member of numerous 1950s teams, starting with the Chicago American Giants from 49, the Kansas City Monarchs. Okay, and how about this? He was a star player on the 1953 Kansas City Monarchs, 1955 Kansas City Monarchs. Let me go, I'm going to jump ahead. 1955, that featured George Altman, who just recently passed away, Lou Johnson, and also J.C. Hartman. All of those guys made it to the American and National League. All right, and then how about this? Bayless also, and he's featured on the team picture with the 1953 Kansas City Monarchs that has Ernie Banks and Pancho Herrera were on the team. Of course, Bayless didn't make it up, but he's right there with them, right? Contributing to that team. And how about this? He's also on the Birmingham Black Barons team picture that had, I'm trying to think, Vic Harris is the manager, and Willie Mays was on that team. So he's on that team as well. And years ago, I interviewed his widow. And I actually, his daughters, I think 3 of them follow me on Facebook right now. And recently I was at a funeral for a musician. His daughter sat next to me the whole time we were at the funeral. So, and I knew her from back in the 80s. She was a musician with an all-girls band. And sometimes they would perform when we were performing. Of course, I was in another band, but they would perform when we were performing. So I knew her from way back there. I think she played bass, if I'm correct. So anyway, but I know a lot of times, if you can get to know these people's families. This is just not history that you're reading in a book. You actually know some of these people. And like in the case of Satchel Paige, I know his daughter. I talk to Linda frequently. And then, of course, Hank Bayless's kids, I see them. I have a number of pictures with them. And so anyway, yeah, so that's Hank Bayless. And, of course, he was a former Army veteran, and he's buried at Leavenworth National Cemetery in Leavenworth, Kansas, which is probably about, I say, probably 20 minutes from my house. So anyway, that's just a little bit of what's going on today, December 17th. Of course, this is my December 17th, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And before I get out of here tonight, there's a couple of things I want to do. Yesterday, I was telling you about a site that's coming up, and it's already up. And it has a subscription rate, but I want you to go out and check it out. And it's sdsportshistory.com. And that's going to begin to give you a lot of history about baseball and track and field, football, things like that up in the upper Midwest. And so that is going to be a good site. I'm going to participate in that. I'm going to write some articles for that will only appear on that particular site related to some of the outstanding players who played in the upper Midwest and people that I knew through the years. And so I will provide information that you won't be able to read anywhere else. It'll be on that sdsportshistory.com. All right. You want to make sure you go look that up. Then also, I do want to, now my camera is twisted. So everything I put up is actually showing us reverse, right? But this is the book I recently received here. And just the other day from Craig Krangler. And he spells his last name Kreindler. And this one has some beautiful pictures in it. And he's an artist, and he wrote a nice thing here in the beginning, complimenting me on my work and the things that I've been doing. But let me find a good picture in here. Here's a beautiful picture right here. One of Rube Foster. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that okay? Rube Foster, that's a beautiful picture. Rube Foster, I talk about him all the time. Knew his family very well. Let's see, let me get another Negro League picture. Here's a nice one of Josh Gibson there. And this is a coffee table sized book, so I'm going to have people over for Christmas, so I'm going to put it out on the table. And hopefully some of the young people will pick it up and look at the pictures. Here's a beautiful one, Jose Mendez. Yeah, that's a nice one. So yeah, I'm going to put this out over the holidays, and it'll make a great conversation piece, guys. Let's see. Let me find you a good one here. How about this one? Who we have here? Eddie Josh. And how about that one? That's nice. And he also shows you the picture that he copied it from. Yeah, he does good work. So yeah, I'm gonna put that out, and I want to thank Craig for that. I certainly appreciate that, guys. So anyway, let's see. Let me answer a few questions, and I'll be out of here. Let me know where you're from, and that would be great. Somebody said, have you read The Power in the Darkness, Josh Gibson biography? I haven't read that particular one. I have a number of books here, so I'm always looking, and there's always new books coming out, and so I am always looking for more. So I guess nobody mentions where they're from, but that's okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, if you have a book, I'm going to look that book up when I get off tonight. So yeah, I love to read and I love to learn. And that has been what I've been doing for January will make 46 years that I've been recording this history, guys. Started when I was like 20, in my early 20s. Can you imagine that? And here I am today, still talking about it. One thing I can do that most people can't do is I can say that I knew these people. Now, I knew their families. I talked to them. I went to many people's homes. I've traveled extensively. And how about this? I even went to church with ball players. I invited them to my church. They came. So this has been a real experience for me. And so what I'm hoping to do is to relate some of these stories, and so it will become a part of your lives. And you will begin to carry this history forward long after I'm gone. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. I hope this has been enjoyable for you. We will be back tomorrow with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. I'm just looking, and I see some great things for tomorrow. And I might even add a few more things to it. So anyway, yeah, I've got some good stuff coming up tomorrow that it's going to be really interesting. So be sure and hit a subscription, subscribe, and you'll know when I'm on. And hey, we'll keep this conversation going for as long as you want it to go. So thank you again tonight. This has been the December let me say, December 17th, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. You have a nice evening. See you real soon.